What's up, everybody? I believe that there are some clocks off today. One of them being the clock here on StreamYard. But 2 minutes early is not a big deal to me. Unless my entire clock is wrong, we still have another minute before 9 o'clock. Which is kind of good. I get to answer the question I was asked early and out the way. Then we can get back into Matthew. Um, Someone left a question on one of the videos I made some time ago, and she wanted an answer for it. So we're going to try and give her some direction. So this is Kim, and her question is, it's Kim Hunter again, asking questions before and now. The problem I'm having is I'm not understanding a lot. First, I wanted to know how, or I wanted to know, I'm guessing, wanted to know how to repent, and do I have to get baptized in order to be saved? I don't know if you remember, I have a sister that's a minister. I do remember. She's 61, I'm 67. I know her personally. Inside, I'm going crazy. I don't know the Bible, don't know the difference between scriptures or the gospel. I have no one to help. That's why I write you once in a while, but it's getting hard and I'm getting older. I want to read the Bible. I want to get closer to God. Please tell me where to start in the Bible classes, reading the Bible. Please help me. I feel like I'm losing so much and I can't get any help from my family. Okay. So, Kim, it is good that you're seeking this pathway. Um, and I do understand the dilemma, but I think we need to start a little further back, if you don't mind. Um, I know that the number one thing people try to push is um, get this right and get that right and get this right and get that right and all that stuff. The number one thing you have to get a hold of is knowing who you are before God. Um, Wanting to repent, all well and good, but wanting to repent needs to happen after you know what you're repenting for. That's the biggest thing. Until you know what Jesus died for, your sin is going to be very minuscule in your eyes. You're going to be I'm not saved. Not realizing what he died for, the gravity of your situation before his death. That has to happen. That realization has to set in. Otherwise, what starts to become normal is a struggle between finding out whether or not you need to repent for something, or that idea of what do I repent of everything. It's a turning away from what you were and accepting what you are in him. And I know this is where the conversation gets kind of, so I'm going to try and break it down as best as I can. People have a propensity to try and minimize their sin, or minimize sin, period. And in some cases not even know what that actually is. Some equate it to action, some equate it to family's action. The fact of the matter is, Kim, every one of us, before accepting Christ, were bound for the sure and righteous punishment of death and no communication with Christ. That is our state. With the death of Christ, we have an avenue to be able to approach the throne and to be seen in right standing before God, not of our own doing, nothing that we can do. No, there's no doing enough. There's only a relinquishing of what we were to what he wants us to be. That realization has to set in. knowing that you are supposed to be killed. Death is your punishment for what you are, not what you do, what you are. And realizing that that acceptance is pivotal is first step. There is no good or bad side of you, it's all bad. But upon that realization, the other realization you have to have is that Christ took the punishment. He took it. But in taking it, there is one thing left for you to literally do. And that is to put on what he's done after resurrection. This is a mental change. This is why he said to renew your mind. So the question remains this: do you see your state? Do you understand that from birth till now, you were bound for hell? That Christ and accepting his sacrifice on your behalf is the only way you can be in right standing with God. And once you've noticed, seen, and accepted that, you can begin the next step. As for baptism, and I've said this before, baptism is an expression of something that Christ already did inside. It's what other people get to see as a result. It is part of it, but it comes after his work. Otherwise, you just get up wet. The harder part of our journey is not the initial phase. It's staying in constant knowledge that this is a perpetual thing. This goes forward all the way. This is how you also stay away from the reoccurrence of something that you used to do. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to pop its head up. That's the whole point of the flesh. It will pop up. But the practice from there on out is the practice of not giving it the time of day. Giving it the time of day on occasion will bring a mad amount of anger, regret, and some of us take that and say, I will never be able to shake this, and we just continue. There's others that say, I understand this is part of the walk, and they will still continue. And then there are the last bit, which is where you should be. I understand this is going to happen, but this too will pass and will end. There is an expiration date on this falling. There is an expiration date. Because every time I do, I have to turn, and I turn right back and accept the truth of what? That I am saved. It is not self-affirmation. It's not positive self-talk. This is the acceptance of something that Christ did on your behalf. And you have to accept it. You have to believe that he did it. In Acts 16, at midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and prisoners were listening to them. Suddenly, there was a great earthquake. So the foundation of the prisons were shaken, and immediately all the doors were open, and everyone's chains were loosed. And the keeper of the prison, awaking and from sleep and seeing the prison doors open, supposing the prisoners had fled, drew his sword and was about to kill himself. But Paul called with a loud voice, saying, do yourself no harm, for we are all here. Then he called for a light, ran in, and fell down trembling before Paul and Silas. And he brought them out and said, Sirs, what must I do to be saved? So they said, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and you will be saved, you and your household. Then they spoke the word of the Lord to him and to all who were in his house. And he took them the same hour of the night and washed their stripes. And immediately he and all his family were baptized. Now, when he had brought them into his house, he set food before them, and he rejoiced, having believed in God with all his household. You have a decision to make. Let's just be honest. We all do. Okay. The decision is this: did God do what he said he did? And if he did do what he said he did, then my salvation is assured if I believe. I have to accept it for it to affect me. If you have trouble getting past the idea that he would do that, that's the first thing you have to reconcile. Reading is just something you have to do to stay connected. And trust me, once you're reading with the idea to talk to him, he will talk. And I don't mean verbally in your head. And I'm not talking about look for that. But here's what the word I've noticed has a habit of doing. You'll be going through something. And doing this as a practice, just waking up and reading, oddly enough, he sometimes will just take you right to a place that you need to be. I don't know how to explain it other than he just does. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, this is the part I don't try to overthink. When things just happen, I'm just happy. I don't try to make it make sense. So I gave you at least where you should start. Forget what family think, forget what people think. This is about your walk, okay? Your walk. You have to make your calling and election sure. And the only way to do that is to know where you are and who you are before him, understand what he has done, and accept that. Not guilt trip, accept it. And then from there, yes, I would say be baptized. As for staying in the word, there is no spot I can tell you to start reading at to make it. I can't, there's nothing I can, the only thing I can help you do is to probably start at what would be the easier sections, the one that gives you the most encouragement, I guess. But even then, I don't know what encouragement for you looks like. So I'm not going to say that either. I can tell you for me, the ones that made the most impact to me was the book of Ephesians and the Psalms. For me, those were the two. If I ever had a issue mentally trying to stay, the entire book of Ephesians kept me grounded. I could spend months in Ephesians, months. The Psalms were just one of the ones that would bring you out of the slums real quick. But Ephesians was the one that did it for me. But like I said, if you have more questions, you can always inbox me. If what I answered was insufficient or not up to what you wanted. But that's just that's the best I can give you. These are all choices you have to make. A lot of people think it's all fairy rainbows and stuff. When you get saved, you feel this euphoric feeling. Sometimes it's not that. For me, it was somber, like ultra somber, but not bad. Just I was broken, and there was no yay, I'm saved. It wasn't that. It was a thank you. There was a peace, but I was not elated. So I'm just, trying to be as transparent with you as possible. So let's go to Matthew 13, the parable of the sower. This might also apply to you too as well, Kim. On the same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea. And great multitudes were gathered together to him, so that he got into a boat and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. Then he spoke many things to them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places, and where they did not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up, because they had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, 60-fold, some 30. And the one who has ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came to him and said, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" He said to them, "Because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled, which says, Hearing you will not hear, and you shall not understand, and seeing you will not perceive. For the heart of these people have grown dull. Their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes have closed. Lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their hearts and turn, so that I should heal them." You ever notice people don't know how to listen anymore? I mean, they come with this preconceived idea before they have to talk to you. And so whatever you say to them is filtered first through their belief structure, then spewed back at you completely different than you said. We've run into this, I don't know how many millions of times on Too Strong. I've run into that, I don't know how many billions of times in the political sphere. People just don't seem to get simple things. I keep thinking to myself, there is something wrong with people, but is it? I think people have grown altogether self-centered, and they just don't want to hear, so they don't listen. They believe what they believe. And that's okay, because we are the same way. We are called to be exactly that, steadfast. The difference is we can hear their point of view, scan it through God's word, and still be able to say, I hear what you're saying, but they don't seem to be able to do that. Well, it tells you why. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For assuredly I say to you that many prophets and righteous men desire to see what you see and did not see, and to hear what you hear but did not hear. So then he goes on to explain the parable of the sower. Now, Kim, you may fall into one of these categories. I don't know. You can be the judge of that. Therefore, hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is he who has received the seed by the wayside. But he who received the seed on stony places is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures only for a while. For when tribulation and persecution arises because of the word, immediately he stumbles. Now he who receives seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and cares of this world and deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. But he who receives the seed on good ground is he who hears the word, understands it, bears fruit, and produces some 100-fold, 60, and 30. I will tell you which one I was for a long time. I was this one right here. It's not the stony ground, though. There it is, right here. The thorns. That was me. I was the one that fell among the thorns. I can say that unequivocally. When I first heard the word, it had ill effect on my life. I really wasn't able. I heard it. I kind of did stuff, but it wasn't, to any effect. And then life is what I gave my attention to. It wasn't until traumatic effects to the soil happened to where it had to get dug up. And I mean, plowed the mess out of it, turned everything over um, to make it good soil. It got deweeded, but the process was painful. I will tell you right now, that process was painful. Seeing myself was no fun thing. That wasn't something I had on my bucket list to see myself. But it had to happen in order to get to where he wanted me to get to. Parable of the wheat and tares. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servant said to him, Do you want us to go and gather them up? He said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and at the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, First gather together the tares and bind them in bundles and burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Now, that one, you will find a correlation in people that say they are believers and they're among you and they have nothing to do with God. I consider those people the ones that listen to folks like T.D. Jakes, tares. And while we're all growing together, when we all finally expire and it's time for the harvest, there will be a natural separation. Now, mind you, you will be able to still tell the tares from the wheat while they are growing together. It isn't that you can't tell the wheat and the tares apart. You know the difference. We're just not pulling them all up together because you're risking damaging the actual crop. So we'll wait. And I have no problem. I have no problem growing with the tares, but understand, I can identify the tares. You can identify the tare. It doesn't look anything like the wheat, which is why they were able to notice it right away. Welcome in, Kim. Glad you made it. Mustard seed. And this is also for you, Kim. It's a good thing I see. Okay, I'm going to take this down. Kim, let me holler at you real quick. Let me holler at you. You sent that comment, I think it was yesterday. And I set this up last night. Okay, I set this one particular one last night. So I had put off doing certain books in the certain chapters in Matthew for a while now. I just put it off because I was doing other things in between. And there you go, popping in the question. And oddly enough, just coinkydink, right? Just coincidentally, the chapter we're talking about is the exact same thing you're struggling with. Ain't that funny? I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny to me. That's real. See, when I tell you that God knows who to talk to, when to talk to them, and how to talk, he knows exactly what you need. That next part, you're in the room at the very right time. This next part we're going into, this is what I want you to really get. Okay, I really want you to get this part. If nothing else, this is the part I want you to get. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all the seeds. But when it has grown, it is greater than the herbs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air can come and nest in its branches. A mustard seed is very small. Okay? I mean, it is small, tiny. Mustard seeds are not big at all. They can fit on the tip of your finger, really, really tiny things. Okay. And when the tree itself is at its biggest, I'm going to show you real quick what it looks like. This is the tree. This is the result. Okay, this is the result of the mustard seed. So for you, Kim, and anyone else like Kim, that little thing that you have starting right now, that little bit of faith that something is going to change, that you're going to hand your life over to Him, that little thing, when you stay in the soil, you let Him water, you stay connected, a tree will eventually come forth. Now, it takes a while for that tree to get there, but persistence is the key. But remember, you've already acknowledged what you are before God: worthless, worth death, burned. You understand that Christ did that. So anything that pops up after that, trying to tell you you're worthless, you can say, yeah, I know. I already been through all that questioning before. This is nothing new, Satan. You already lost that battle by trying to bring anything else in charge against me. I've already admitted that I'm worth death. Try again. I knew exactly what I was telling God when I handed my life over, Satan. I knew. I knew that I was nothing. I knew I had no good thing in me. God already told me that. I admitted that much. I handed that off to Him. He already accepted me because the life that He gave me was one that was a sacrifice life. I don't have to worry about your charges anymore, Satan. And that's not news to me. Thank you, though. You can move on. Now, go back to what I was doing, which is I'm being in the Word right now. You can buzz off. Just buzz off. It's as simple as I know. I know. And okay, good. I heard you the first 15 billion times you've told me that. This is not a guilt trip thing. Don't let the devil guilt trip you. He can bring all the accusations he wants against you and just tell him, yes, I know. Duh. I'm not God. Obviously, you're going to have stuff that you see in my past, dude. Like, duh. You know who else saw that? Jesus did too. So what's your point? You know who else said, okay, I can get rid of that, no problem? Jesus did. So what's your point? You know who also told me I don't have to worry about it rearing its head anymore because I have a way of escape? Jesus. So, duh. Try again. You have to recognize something, that He will keep bringing something that Christ already told you is dealt with. And if you do understand that Christ is the supreme, then you don't have to worry about what the devil says. He could say it all day long. He could torment you as much as he thinks he wants to, but it's inconsequential in light of what Christ already told you has happened. Parable of the leaven. Another parable He spoke to them: the kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened. These parables are, I would say, probably the best things for people who are trying their first steps to get into the flow of Christianity. So leaven, an agent such as yeast that causes batter or dough to rise, especially in fermentation. It's used as an agent that works subtly to lighten and enliven. So when you need this into your dough, you have a little bit, but then she put it in all 3 until everything was permeated with it. This is His word, and it will eventually take over everything in your life. It will. It will. That's what it does. The word is living and active, active yeast. It is very active. Very active. All these things Jesus spoke to the multitude in parables, and without a parable he did not speak to them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. Again, all these prophecies being fulfilled. I will open my mouth in parables and will utter things kept secret from the foundation of the world. Jesus sent the multitude away and went into his house. And his disciples came to him and explained the parable of the tares in the field. He answered and said to them, he who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, and the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will gather out the kingdom all things that offend, and those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let them hear. It is a beautiful thing to not have to worry about the end times. You notice that none of us have a spot in that lineup. Did you notice that in all that description, God's the one taking care of all the stuff? You just have to abide. That's all. You realize that? He tells you to mark the ones who are the tares. He will deal with them at the end. You don't have to do a thing. That's beautiful to me. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid. And for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Wisdom. What some might do is go and take the stuff out the field and leave the field. No, I'm just going to go take the field. You never know what other treasures might be out there in that field. Buy the field. That's where the treasure is. That's what the treasure is. Yes, this is Matthew 13. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, if the word, if God is of the kind of value that we suppose he is and we say he is, poverty is not a deterrent. Letting go of all your past and what you think you are is no deterrent. If he really is that great, relinquishing the stuff we do all the time should be easy. Be a sellout. Be a sellout. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a dragon which was cast into the sea and gathered some of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to the shore, and they sat down and gathered the good into vessels and threw the bad away. So it will be at the end of the age. The angel will come forth, separate the wicked from among the just, and cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. I know people like to say Jesus talked all nice and sweet and accepted everybody. He telling you right here, that's not how this works. So this is Jesus, okay? I'm just letting y'all know that. Good. Jesus said to them, have you understood all these things? They said to him, yes, Lord. And he said to them, therefore, every scribe instructed concerning the kingdom of heaven is like a householder who brings out of his treasure things old and new. We have a charge before us, okay? And not every one of us is going to execute it to perfection. But the charge that we have is that we execute it. And the charge isn't so much what we do within the confines of the world, is how committed we are to the one that brought us out. I know many people focus on this idea of going out and doing. Here's the thing that burns you out real quick because it is from self effort. You'll watch many people that go to mission trips, and some of them are tailor made, it seems, for the mission field. But I guarantee you they don't do that without being plugged in. There are tons that feel they have to go and do a whole mass amount of things in order to feel accepted by the kingdom. The kingdom never required you to do this. If you are not sold to him, he cannot then apply you to what he wants. If you're going into this kingdom idea thinking, I'm going to do this and I'm going to, and I'm going to, and you don't wait, you don't let him decide, problems. There will be trouble. There will be mass trouble. The first thing anyone entering the kingdom has to do is surrender. You cannot move forward without surrendering. You can't come in with bravado. You can't come in saying, I'm going to do and I'm going to do. And calm down, Junior. Calm down. The first thing you ought to do is surrender. He can send you where he wants to send you. He'll give you what you need to do. And he'll make it very obvious. Trust me, he will. And I'm not saying he'll wake up with some figurine in front of you and his voices in your head. For me, it was just there. I don't know how else to explain it to you. I didn't hear voices in my head and all that stuff. I'm not saying people don't. I'm not putting anything past God. But what I'm saying is this. I just started seeing things become available to me. Options. And what I started doing was taking those options and saying, hey, God, is this one you? And if it is you, let it remain. If it's not, let it go away. And if it remained, I took it. That's how Too Strong and this came about. Did I say God called me to? Possibly this is how it would be in my head, yeah, but I do know, though, that I tell people all the time, this is something you have to do anyway. You have to be a steward of the word, right? Okay. That's why I tell people this is not a mission that I'm on. I'm not a missionary. I'm not a minister. I consider this a showing of people that you can do exactly what you're supposed to do at minimum, which is invest in the word. Just invest. That's number one. Now it came to pass when Jesus had finished these parables that he departed from there. When he had come to his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished and said, where does this man get the wisdom and these mighty works? Is this not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Where did this man get all these things? So they were offended at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor, except in his own country and in his own house. Now he did not do many mighty things and works there because of their unbelief. Pearls before swine. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. How do I know a swine when I see one? Well, throw the word out and see what happens. You'll know. I'm not going to keep throwing it, though. I test it. You don't want it, don't take it. You remember when we had those two guys on the atheist conversation? I think the problem, the biggest issue, I think when most people, when they talk to atheists, is they want to persuade. I'm not persuading nobody. You ask the question, I answer the question. That doesn't make any sense. I know it doesn't make sense, and it's not supposed to make sense to you. The kingdom does not make sense to people looking at it from an earthly eye. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. So for me to try and make it make sense, no. The only one that can make it make sense is God. And if you're not going to open your heart to him, it's never going to make sense. If you're not going to approach him and honestly want to have and hear and know him, it's not going to make sense. It is going to be the most off the wall thing you have ever encountered, and that's understandable. But it's not like I'm going to try and find the most outlandish way to make the point to you. It's really simple. It's really simple. In fact, now I want to find this one because I want to find this one specifically. Okay. So let me see if I can find this spot here. Let me see if I can find a question that's personal. Hang on. Okay. I want to recap, just to go things over real quick. I want to recap this conversation I had with Jimmy Tux. You remember that conversation? It's been a minute, but I don't know if you guys remember this conversation. This particular conversation took place on, hang on, let me see when this was. Jimmy Tux was on April of 2024. Y'all remember that Jimmy Tux conversation? Okay. And this was the first question I asked him, okay? I want you to break down, because in your messages you said that you had tried to get to the point of being a Christian, but the journey ended when you decided or became a atheist. Mm-hmm. You can explain, break that out. I'm not going to interrupt anything. I'm really just here to hear how that journey fleshed out. That'd be really good.
Yeah, the journey started. I was raised in. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're in South Bend.
No, that's Corey. That's in
Corey.
Washington State. Yeah,
you're in Washington State. Okay. Mm-hmm. So my journey began. I was raised in Fort Wayne, not far from South Bend, and I was raised in the Church of Christ. Mm-hmm. And my sister was. Are you currently Church of Christ?
No.
Yeah, it's in the review mirror for everybody that I'm associated with relatives, and except for an aunt and uncle, he was a Church of Christ priest. I mean, not priest, minister. Yeah. So my sister got baptized around the time I turned 10, and she's a couple years younger than me. And I was rooting for her. I basically wanted to get baptized as well. And growing up, I had pretty much knew the Bible pretty well at the age of 10. Wanted to become a Christian, with all the rights, respects. Now that in the rearview mirror, I look at Church of Christ as an idol worshiper to baptism, the Bible, and communion. Mm-hmm. More or less. But then I thought that was the path to be with God, and that the Bible was essentially your owner's manual to reside here on the earthly realm.
Now, I wanted to play that part for. I'm not going to go back into the whole conversation, but if you listen carefully, the one thing that really jumped out was he placed a lot of emphasis on the actionable portion of Christianity. And many people do this. Many, many, many do this. They do not approach God to be a believer and a follower. They approach God to be a Christian. The title, Christian. The position, Christian. The job, Christian. It should be what you are, not what you do. It should be a nature to you, not a occupation. Occupations run you tired. Occupation it becomes work. Who you are is should a natural thing. You wake up one, you go to sleep one, you walk one, you run one. It's not something that you have to do. It's a natural execution on everything that you are, which is why the encounter with Christ has to be first. Aiming for baptism will get you in trouble because then you think, all right, that's all I had to do was be baptized and I don't need the relationship after that. That's mentally what will happen. But if the relationship is fostered by the introduction and the commitment to staying, the baptism comes a reflection of an already done deed. And then the actions thereafter is going to be way more easy because you have a relationship with the person. It is something I think we all need to work on, okay, is the procedure here. If you're not a believer, you have to recognize your status before God, and it is bound for hell. He already made a way for you to be seen in right standing. It's not something you do. It's something you accept. It's something you come under. It is something you embrace. The procedure then is relinquishing what you were and accepting what he's offering. That is a renewal of the mind because the original mind is bent on self. The new mind is bent on Christ. And if you cannot make that switch to understand, and the very first thing of understanding it is knowing you are nothing. This self-positive talk crap. No, accept the fact you're nothing. I'm nothing. We are nothing. We are dust. This body that you know me as will be disintegrated. It's dust. But the work and the man that I am inside because of Christ is worth everything. That realization has to happen. And that realization only comes by understanding what he's done. Many will not get that. This is why I said this whole explosion of people joining it. You're going to see a lot of people go to church more. You're going to see a lot of people commit their lives to church. They're not committing to God. They're simply not. A committing yourself to God is a handing of self altogether, to be burned, to be gone, to be dead, gone away, nailed to the cross. That's it. If one can get to that point, holding nothing, and I mean you are having nothing in your mind that says, I have a little bit of good in me. I mean, I'm not that bad of a guy. No, we are. We really are. We really are. And it has nothing to do with your actions. This is where you have to look at yourself. You're not looking at it through actions. Of course, you're always going to be better than somebody else. The measuring stick doesn't work here because we're all being measured against the perfect one. And if you can't measure up even in the smallest aspect of the perfect one, then you are just as bad as the person next to you. We all have to recognize that. However, once I have recognized that and have taken on the life of Christ, once that transition has happened, I am no longer affiliating with that old man. I'm not. I'm no longer there. I'm not going to go back to that house. I'm staying in my new house. Thank you very much. No, the old house, nope. That has rot and the floorboards are old. And even if the house is brand new, it's depreciating already. Ain't doing no repairs to it. And every time I do a repair, something breaks. I'm not touching that. This house, self-maintained. I don't have to do nothing in it. This is look, I'm just here as a tenant. And I was given all the rights and privileges of someone who owns the home. And I don't even have to do anything to maintain the home. I'm staying here. The only thing I have in my charge is to stay in the house. Call me a homebody. I'm not going to be a homebody. I'll be a homebody. I will. I'll be a homebody. Now, everybody sees me pulling up to this house when I do go out. I have stickers of the house everywhere I go. But I'm always wanting to head back to the house. The house is comfort. And when I step out, I remember the house. When I walk around, I'm just thinking about the house. Anybody ask me, how you doing? Man, I'm good because the place I live is so good. What was that? Well, that's where all of my attention is, man, is in that house. I just came out to do what I got to do here, but I'm not for out here. I'm for in there. So I'll be heading back there soon. You can have the same house too if you want. I mean, it's a cool house. But you also got to remember that when you come to the house, before you get in, you got to admit that you're not worth this house. You're not worth this house. I'm not worth this house. Or I wasn't. But the person that has given me all the rights of this house is. And I'm under his name. On the deed, his name is my name. When people come, I can just show them, yep, I'm a tenant here. I'm part of his house, his household. All of what he has is mine. But I never forget that it was his, and I am just a steward of it. I never forget that. But people don't focus on that anymore. People now love to focus on what I do, how much I give, what my status is, and all that stuff. And it's pointless, which is why you can't convince an atheist about it, because they're looking at things through a humanistic lens. And what you say will make no sense to them. And that's okay. This is not supposed to make sense. Remember, he said, I'm speaking in parables because they will never get it if I told them the truth. If I told them straight up what it was, they would never believe it. They don't have ears to hear. But he still told them. He still told them. So, that's my 2 cents on things that I got straight out of the book. And if you got a problem with the statements I made, you can always take it up with the book or show me from the book where I'm wrong. We have a video dropping later today. I want to prep the 97 people that are in here and the one on Facebook for something. On Too Strong, that is. We had to deal with an issue that we could not ignore. So when you see that particular video drop, please understand that the response are coming from heads of households. and not necessarily two podcasters. They are coming from two men who are supposed to protect their household. And when you have people that feel they can just say certain things in the direction of the ones protected by us, there will be some things that come back at them that they may not like. And so somebody had stepped out, and we gonna step up. So that video will be dropping later today. I want to prep you all for it, because just some things you don't do. You know what I'm saying? There's just some places you don't go just to make a point that you didn't end up making. Shock and awe is fine, but at least keep your shock and awe within the confines of the conversation. That would be impressive. But when you step your little hairy toes outside of them bounds, yeah, that's yeah. So anyway, in any case, look for it. It'll be dropping later tonight. Okay. And if you think I go too hard, maybe you didn't have a protector around. But if you ever had a protector around, you know there is no too far. I just want you to, there is no too far. We match. We match. In any case, Savage Patriots will be back tomorrow. Too Strong might be live tonight. It depends. There's a lot going on, so we have a lot to do. Two very big projects we're working on right now. So just so you know, scrolling at the bottom. For those of you who have sent stuff, thank you so very much. Much appreciated. I cannot tell you how timely some of these things show up in, and then that's very timely. The most timely things you will ever see in life. So I thank you. I don't know what time it'll drop. It more than likely be somewhere between 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern, more than likely. So might be sooner, but that's what I'm anticipating it. It's getting edited now. So we'll see once the editing is all done when it's going to drop. So it might show like a premiere. I don't know. Or it just might drop as a video. Don't know yet. Anyway, so thank you for those who have, and for those who are contemplating and talking to God about it. Either way, thank you. I do appreciate it. We'll be covering Matthew 14 tomorrow, so come looking out for that. We still have a lot. It's a big book, and that's good. Nice big book. And so we will cover all of it properly. Okay, we'll cover all of it properly. So please tune in tomorrow for just that. In the meantime, in between time, wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, 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 please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die.